Well, I think it's unique because it's a tournament. We don't do too many tournaments aside from ICC events. So it has some tremendous benefits being an enclosed tournament where we get to be a 10th team, if you like, or a 10th franchise in the IPL. And that's great for us because we get to mix and socialise, but also participate in smaller teams. And then progress through a tournament just like any of the franchises were. Then of course you've got the tremendous advantages of IPL where you've got lots of movement around the various states, and I suppose for us it's about enjoying the cricket, it's about our own development as well within a tournament framework and taking on board the advantages of the smaller teams and learning from each other, both personally and professionally. And then IPL of course produces some fantastic cricket and a mix of international and local, and it's always been great for me personally to be able to work with the Indian-based umpires as well and see their development and network with them and form some great friendships. I think just like the players where they get to mix with a various group of international and local people, so being a player, you know, I think one of the great advantages of IPL is that someone from Australia comes and plays with a South African or an Englishman and a whole group of Indian players, and to mix as well with various coaches from different backgrounds. We're no different, and I think that's a great advantage to us, is that we get to mix with so many different international panel umpires, so many different local umpires, as well as involving some of the Emirates Elite panel umpires. And then visit a lot of the various different cultural areas of India as well, so places like Rajasthan, Calcutta, Delhi, Mumbai, and get to experience the real India as well, intermixed with a lot of good cricket. T20 cricket is very challenging for a number of reasons. Yes, the players do innovate, where they try new shots, the bowlers bowl different types of deliveries. You see the coaches experiment with different playing conditions, and they really test those playing conditions to the limit, and your knowledge of laws and playing conditions interpretations is really tested, and sometimes you see things for the first time. So being able to adapt to those and also maybe even cut them off really quickly if they're not right, or at least explain how they could be better managed and interpreted, is something that's a real challenge. But in terms of uniqueness for 2020 cricket, you know, this season has been incredibly close in terms of results. The venues have been incredibly noisy, which presents its own challenge for us being a team sport, so we need to communicate. We also need to use sight and sound with our decision making, so being able to hear outside edges, inside edges, the different noises of ball hitting glove as opposed to bat or body, for example, is really challenging. You have to use other sensory information to be able to make your decisions, as well as your instinct and other cues that you can pick up to make decisions. The heat in this part of the world is challenging, and being able to hydrate and also go through 3.5 hours of cricket is at times, you know, sometimes here in India it gets hotter at night than it does during the day. You've got humidity, you've got dry heat, but you've also got different cuisine that you have to get used to, and they present its own challenges. But the playing conditions and everything happens faster. So for us it's all about being mentally prepared, being aware for what's likely to happen, so that your first response, your default response, is the right one. So everything just happens fast. My style is very much unobtrusive. I try not to be in the limelight. If people don't notice me, that's a good thing. Try to get, obviously, the decisions right. But also too, as we come into the business end of IPL 5, we've got a lot of pressure from the players and the franchises for success. And it's very important that when their emotions get very high, that as an umpire, my role and my demeanour stays very calm, so that when other people are losing control of their emotions, I stay in control of mine, while still enjoying the cricket and the challenge, of course. But it's very important to maintain a clear line of thinking and still provide a fair environment for everybody to participate. So, you know, match management is very important. Well, how much time have you got? Well, this afternoon, for example, my match preparation for tomorrow is starting. So we go and do a ground inspection at the venue. So we go through various things with the groundsman. We look at his rollers, we look at his preparation for the game, look at his contingency plans for wet weather, dew, look at the crease markings and when are they going to maintain those, and how are they going to make sure that the whole venue is kept in good shape. We also talk about things like catering and make sure that our room is set up and maintained and basically kept in a way that makes us feel comfortable. We'll have a pre-game discussion with all of our colleagues. We'll talk about some of the player issues that are going into that match, if there's any aggro between teams or players. We'll talk about playing condition interpretations, anything that's topical like overrates. For example, last night in Mumbai we had an issue with one of the teams where they fell behind and they were fined. We'll talk about teamwork signalling between me and my colleagues and working the match with a third umpire. Make sure that our communication, we'll look at the tools of the trade, so we'll look at the radios that they're going to provide us with, double check all the spare balls in case we start losing them, that they get hit out of the ground by various players. And basically we'll look at a lot of preparation and plan Bs to ensure that when things don't go quite right, that we have a good response to be able to get things back on track. Duckworth Lewis, who's doing it, when are the sheets going to be presented to the teams. We'll look at other forms of contingency, security, make sure that no one's got access to our rooms, that we're going to leave on time, get there on time. Uniforms, decide on which shirts we're going to wear depending upon who's playing. There's a lot of preparation that's really strong, and then individually I'll go away and I'll review some laws, go through playing conditions again, make sure that I'm familiar with all the policies of IPL, clothing regulations, player behaviour, and make sure that mentally and physically I'm ready for the match. So that's pretty much as much as my pockets will allow. But traditionally I'll carry things like scissors, a spike tightener. I always carry things like band-aids, headache tablets. It's just a force of habit. I carry spare bail, sometimes a set of rings, a ball gauge in case the ball starts to go out of shape, a notebook, pen, counter, spare bowler's marker, bobby pins in case players' uniforms start to break. So the way I prepare for the match is very much the same as to whether I was doing a Sydney grade cricket match that's a non-televised game compared to an international game of cricket where they have physios, coaches, support staff, medical people available. Always try and keep my routines very much the same. Yeah, look, two of the hardest hitters that I think we're seeing at the moment are Chris Gale and Virender Sehwag, and they're producing some amazing cricket. I know that some umpires have talked about the possibility of wearing helmets, but I don't like the sound of that either. I like to keep the reflexes sharp. But they're, my experience with someone like Viru and Chris, for example, would be that when we go and stand in the nets, also as part of our pre-match preparation, is that they're very dangerous in the nets. So they just transpose that onto the field. No, I think I carry enough equipment before I start putting helmets and extra pads and things like that on. But no, they do keep you on your toes, and that's great. So, my focus has got to be watching the ball and ready for the types of shots that they play. But, pretty much we try to be ready for everything. Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that one at all, but probably anyone that bats at number 11 would be a good person to bowl to. So, with due respect to someone like Chris Martin from New Zealand, I'd probably prefer to bowl to Tomato. Look, batsmen these days spend a lot of time working on their game, and the bowlers, they do some hard yards, don't they? I mean, T20 cricket is certainly not a bowler's game. We've seen some great performances in this tournament, of course, from Malinga and Narayan from the West Indies. So there is a place for them. Dale Steyn is another guy that I've got a lot of time for as a player because he's got tremendous ability to move the ball, which is great. But as a bowler, I don't think I'd be playing too much T20 cricket, even though you're only bowling 4 overs. The economy rates don't go too well. There's quite a few, but I'm not going to go into that quite yet. But we do get a lot of enjoyment out of the game of cricket, both on and off the field. There's some funny things that happen, and I spend most of my time laughing at some of my colleagues more than anything else. So, but it's all good fun. Yeah, look, I mean, we do have some good times, and that's getting back to your question about the benefit of IPL is it's a tournament, so you actually get to spend some good time with your colleagues and find out what makes them tick. So whether you're travelling at an airport with people like Billy Bowden, for example, and you start misplacing his hats and you start making fun of his photographs and autographs, it's all good, but no, we enjoy it. Not a role model as such, but I do take a lot of time to look at the great qualities within other match officials and ask myself if they're doing something that's really well that I could try and apply to my game. So I don't try and be a particular type of other umpire, because I think it's really important you be yourself and you be who you are, and then you're more likely to be successful. But I look at the excellent qualities that a lot of other people have and a lot of good skills that other people have, and I ask myself, gee, that's really good. I wonder if I can apply that to my game, and then hopefully then I can be the best umpire that I can be, and that's all I've got to compete with. Well, I do know quite a bit of Hindi, but I'd like to say that Dhanyawad, it's been great to be here in India again this IPL 5. It's been bahut acha, and I'm ekdam badhiya and all set for the finals.